Have you ever been disrespected and felt the fire rise inside you, that boiling feeling that screams, "They can't treat me like that"? We've all been there, but what if I told you that your true power isn't in how loud you shout back, but in how strong you stand when no words are spoken? This isn't just about dealing with difficult people. This is about reclaiming your strength, protecting your peace, and rising above. In this video, you're about to learn 5 life-changing ways to handle people who don't respect you, not with weakness, not with anger, but with clarity, confidence, and control. These are the rules that strong, focused, purpose-driven people live by. If you're tired of feeling walked over, if you're ready to set the standard instead of lowering yourself to meet theirs, then don't just watch this video. Absorb it, own it, and act on it. By the end, you won't just know how to respond to disrespect. You'll become someone who commands respect without ever needing to demand it. Let's begin. When someone disrespects you, the first instinct is often to internalize it, to question your worth, your actions, or your presence. But here's a powerful truth. Their lack of respect does not diminish your value. The way people treat you is a reflection of their own character, not a measure of yours. You cannot let the opinions or behaviors of others become the mirror that defines who you are. That mirror is cracked, distorted, and unreliable. If you allow their voices to drown out your own, you'll lose the most powerful weapon you have, your sense of identity. Respect begins with self-awareness. When you know your worth, their disrespect bounces off a surface they cannot penetrate. You walk into rooms knowing you belong. You speak with clarity, not to convince, but to express. You show up, not to prove anything, but because you have something valuable to offer. That mindset shifts the dynamic entirely. Disrespect loses its power when it meets unshakable self-respect. There will always be people who project their insecurities onto others. They'll see your strength as a threat, your confidence as arrogance, your success as luck. But if you start editing yourself to fit into their comfort zones, you will shrink into someone you no longer recognize. The world doesn't need a quieter version of you. It needs you to stand firm in your values, even when others try to mock, ignore, or belittle them. The most dangerous thing you can do is hand someone else the pen and let them rewrite your story. When someone doesn't respect you, the temptation is to fight for validation, to prove yourself, to ask, "Why don't they see me?" But here's the thing. You don't need their permission to matter. You don't need their applause to keep going. Some people will never respect you simply because they don't respect themselves, and you cannot heal their wounds by bleeding for them. Your energy is too valuable to spend on earning acceptance from people who are committed to misunderstanding you. What you must do is double down on your values, reinforce the truth of who you are, surround yourself with people who remind you of your worth when you forget it, and most importantly, become so certain of your value that when someone disrespects you, it's not your identity that wavers, it's your trust in their judgment. That shift in perspective changes everything. It puts you back in control, not of them, but of yourself. And in the end, that's the only control that truly matters. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are standards that protect your peace. When someone continually disrespects you, the most powerful response is not loud retaliation or desperate explanation. It's the quiet, firm setting of a boundary. You don't owe access to everyone. Just because someone wants to be in your space doesn't mean they deserve to be. The strongest people aren't those who tolerate the most, but those who know when enough is enough. Boundaries are the difference between being kind and being used, between being patient and being taken advantage of. There's a misconception that setting boundaries is rude or aggressive. It's not. It's clarity. It's you saying, "I won't allow myself to be treated this way," and meaning it. It's you teaching people how to engage with you by the way you allow them to treat you. If someone constantly talks over you, dismisses you, belittles you, or makes you feel small, then it's your responsibility, not theirs, to correct the dynamic, because the hard truth is, people will continue the behavior you permit. When you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you reinforce the idea that it's acceptable. Boundaries are how you teach people that your time is valuable, your energy is sacred, and your respect is not a bargaining chip. And when you uphold those boundaries, something remarkable happens. People either rise to meet your standard, or they remove themselves. Either way, you win. You filter out the noise. You create space for people who actually see you, value you, and elevate you. But you cannot do that while keeping the door open to everyone out of fear of being misunderstood or disliked. And here's where emotional intelligence comes in. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you lash out or sever every connection at the first sign of friction. It means you communicate directly, calmly, and confidently. You say what you mean without apology. You make it known what is not acceptable, and you stand behind it with your actions, because words without action are just noise. If you say, "Don't speak to me like that," but continue to engage as if nothing happened, then your words lose weight. You don't earn respect by demanding it. You earn it by demonstrating what you will and will not accept. That's not pride, it's self-preservation. You can't control how others behave, but you can control the standard you allow in your life. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping your values in. And that is the beginning of reclaiming your power. Confidence isn't about being loud, dominant, or having all the answers. It's about showing up with quiet assurance, rooted in self-worth that isn't dependent on outside approval. When people don't respect you, it's easy to doubt yourself, to shrink, to second-guess your value. But that's the trap. The more you seek validation from those who dismiss you, the more power you give away. Confidence is built when you stop asking for permission to be who you are. It's strengthened every time you decide you don't need their applause to keep moving forward. When someone disrespects you, they're testing you. Not just your patience, but your identity. Will you accept their version of who you are, or will you hold your ground? Confidence is the choice to believe in your value even when others don't see it. It's what allows you to say, "Your behavior doesn't define me, I do." You can't force people to respect you, but you can refuse to be broken by their lack of it. And that resilience is what truly makes them pay attention, not because you tried harder to win them over, but because you stood tall when they expected you to fold. Most people misunderstand what confidence really looks like. It's not about proving something to others. It's about proving something to yourself. It's not boastful. It's not arrogant. It's solid. It's the way you walk into a room without needing to be the loudest voice. It's the way you let go of needing to be liked by everyone. It's the way you respond to disrespect not with rage, but with certainty that you deserve better. When you know who you are, you stop negotiating with people who pretend you're not enough. Building confidence takes time. It's forged in the moments you keep going when it would be easier to give up. It's shaped by every challenge you overcome, every limit you break through, and every time you choose self-respect over approval. Disrespect doesn't define you. Your response to it does. When you stop allowing small minds to shake your identity, you rise above their influence. Confidence says, "I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I'm not going to beg for a seat at a table that was never built for me." You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to prove your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. You need to stand, even if it's alone, with a kind of unshakable presence that says, "You can overlook me, but I won't overlook myself. Confidence is the silent force that commands respect not because it asks for it, but because it expects nothing less. Setting boundaries isn't about being rude or cold. It's about knowing your worth and protecting your peace. When people don't respect you, it's often because you've allowed them to take more than they've earned. Maybe you've said yes when you should have said no. Maybe you've tolerated disrespect hoping things would change. But what you permit, you promote. The hard truth is, people will continue to treat you the way you allow them to. Boundaries are how you teach others to value you. The moment you decide to set clear limits, you shift the power dynamic. You're no longer waiting for someone to realize they've crossed the line. You're drawing the line yourself. That takes courage. It takes clarity. And it requires that you believe you are worthy of respect even when others don't show it. You might fear that setting boundaries will push people away, but the ones who leave because you've respected yourself were never truly for you. The people meant to be in your life will adapt, adjust, and honor the space you claim for your dignity. It's easy to confuse kindness with passivity, but the two are not the same. You can be kind and still say no. You can be compassionate and still call out behavior that crosses your limits. Boundaries aren't walls meant to keep everyone out. They're doors that you open with discernment. They give you the power to choose who has access to your time, your energy, and your emotions. Without boundaries, disrespect becomes a pattern. With boundaries, you reset the standard and remind others that your value isn't up for debate. One of the greatest acts of self-respect is to stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Boundaries mean you no longer argue for your humanity. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to be accepted. You simply decide that peace is more valuable than approval, and that choice doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. You start to realize that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone has earned the right to your vulnerability, your energy, or your attention. And it's not your job to feel guilty for protecting what matters most, your mental and emotional well-being. Boundaries aren't meant to hurt others. They're meant to heal you. They're the blueprint for how others will treat you and the standard you refuse to lower. When you set them, you send a message, not just to the world, but to yourself, that you are no longer available for anything that diminishes your light. And that is one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your strength when others fail to recognize it. Respect begins with how you treat yourself. It's not something you beg for, chase after, or wait to receive from others. It starts from within, from the quiet choices you make when no one is watching, from how you speak to yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you respond when others test your limits. When you hold yourself in high regard, others take notice. Your self-respect becomes the loudest standard in the room even when you don't say a word. And the moment you stop tolerating disrespect within yourself, your doubts, your fears, your compromises, you automatically stop accepting it from others. There's a power that radiates from people who know their worth, not because they shout it or flaunt it, but because they live it. They walk into a room and don't seek validation. They don't shrink to fit into someone else's comfort zone. They don't apologize for their presence or their principles. That kind of energy can't be faked. It's cultivated. It's born in silence, shaped through discipline, and solidified by experience. And when you embody that energy, people either rise to meet it or fall away. Learning to respect yourself is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's aligning your actions with your beliefs, your environment with your values, your relationships with your standards. When someone doesn't respect you, ask yourself where you've been giving away pieces of yourself too cheaply. Maybe you've kept quiet to avoid confrontation. Maybe you've settled for less because you were afraid of losing someone. But what you compromise to keep, you eventually resent, and what you allow to stay out of fear, slowly robs you of your identity. Respecting yourself means choosing growth over comfort, truth over approval, and peace over popularity. People will test your boundaries. They'll push to see how much of you they can take before you push back. But your job isn't to convince them of your value. It's to live in a way that makes it undeniable. And that requires consistency. Self-respect is not a one-time declaration. It's a daily commitment. It's the way you speak about yourself, the standards you uphold, the things you no longer chase, and the behavior you no longer tolerate. It's not just about what you walk away from, it's also about what you walk toward. When you truly begin to respect yourself, something powerful happens. You attract people who reflect that same respect back to you. You stop entertaining those who can't see your worth. You stop feeling guilty for having standards, and most importantly, you begin to live in a way that honors the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. Silence is not weakness, it is strength restrained. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, to speak out, to prove a point. But there is a rare power in choosing silence, in stepping back not because you're afraid, but because you've mastered yourself. Silence does not mean approval, and it certainly does not mean surrender. It means you've decided that your energy is too valuable to waste on noise that doesn't matter. It means you've realized that not every fight is worth fighting, not every insult is worth a reaction, and not every person deserves access to your peace. People often confuse silence with submission, but when it comes from a place of clarity and control, it becomes the greatest expression of self-respect. You don't need to argue to be right. You don't need to shout to be heard. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to say nothing at all and walk away. In that moment, you're no longer playing their game. You're choosing your own. And that, more than any confrontation, leaves an impact. It makes them pause. It shifts the power dynamic, because in that stillness, they realize they no longer control your emotions. But silence isn't just about walking away from disrespect. It's also about what you give your time and thoughts to. It's about being intentional. When someone doesn't respect you, you must understand that reacting emotionally gives them more of what they want, your power. Choosing silence means you've seen through the game. You've realized that the best response is elevation. Let your results speak. Let your character speak. Let your life speak, because ultimately, the best revenge is not anger. It's excellence. Choosing silence requires emotional maturity. It's easy to snap back, to prove a point, to get the last word. But when you choose not to respond, you're not avoiding conflict. You're transcending it. You're proving that their words can't reach you, that their actions don't define you, and that your life is governed by something deeper than ego. It shows you've grown past the need for validation or vindication. You're not ignoring them because they don't matter. You're ignoring them because you matter more. When you walk away in silence, you're sending a message that your peace, your purpose, and your growth are more important than any momentary battle. And the more you practice this, the more you realize how much strength it takes to stay grounded when the world tries to pull you out of character. You don't need to respond to every act of disrespect. You don't need to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Let your silence teach the lesson they refuse to learn. Let it remind them, and you, of the quiet power of self-control. When it comes to dealing with people who don't respect you, the most powerful response isn't revenge or rage. It's composure. It's having the strength to stand tall when others try to pull you down. It's being so grounded in who you are that their behavior doesn't define your identity. Respect doesn't start with others. It starts with you. If you know your worth, if you uphold your boundaries, if you communicate clearly, if you walk away from what doesn't serve you, and if you rise above the noise, you've already won. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your life is your message. Let it speak with integrity, resilience, and quiet power, because how you respond to disrespect determines how far you grow beyond it. Thank you for watching this video. If it inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you something to reflect on, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it today. Your support means everything, and together we rise stronger. Keep growing, keep leading, and never forget, you deserve to be respected, but more importantly, you must first respect yourself.